What if I told you that a lot of what we call love is really just the fear of sitting alone with ourselves? Not the kind of fear that makes you scream, the kind that quietly negotiates your soul away, one small compromise at a time. Before we explain it, try this. Imagine the noise stops. No texts, no notifications, no one to reassure you. In that silence, do you feel peace or panic? We don't like that question. Most of us rush to fill the quiet with a person, a plan, or a promise. We call it romance, but deep down, we know. Sometimes, we're not choosing a partner. We're choosing a hiding place. The real question. The Stoics had a practice. Picture your final day. The room is still, the air heavy, and you ask one honest question. Did I live my own life, or did I spend it shadowing someone else's? That image isn't there to scare you. It's a mirror. Because the chains we willingly accept are the hardest ones to notice. We polish them with date nights and couple selfies, and we tell ourselves, this is what love looks like. But if you listen closely, there's another truth whispering under the surface. You were meant for more than never-ending negotiation. Why we run from silence? Let's be real. Silence is confronting. In silence, you hear the questions you've been avoiding. Why am I always tired when I'm alone? Why do I start to panic when a message is left unread? If I wasn't afraid of being lonely, what choices would I make differently tonight? Many people don't fall in love from a place of wholeness. They grab love because they can't bear the echo inside. It's easier to get lost in someone else's rhythm than to learn your own. And then what happens? Every minor disagreement feels like an earthquake. Every inch of distance, a crack in the glass. The relationship is forced to carry not just two people, but two people's unfinished business. A quiet trade we don't notice. It starts small. Where to eat, what to watch, how to spend Saturday. That's normal. But then the trade expands. You shelve a dream to keep things smooth. You soften your opinion because you've learned your truth is a bit much. You shape your day to avoid stepping on the same old landmines. And one morning you look in the mirror and think, I recognize my face, but where did my spark go? That's not partnership. That's survival. And survival is never the home of real love. A different kind of courage. Real courage isn't loud. It's the quiet decision to stop running from yourself, to sit in the discomfort long enough to hear the truth underneath it. The Stoics weren't anti-love. They were pro-freedom. They believed the good life starts when your peace comes from the inside out. When your yes is chosen, not coerced by fear. When your no is clear, not punished by guilt. That's what sovereignty looks like in everyday life. Ask yourself, if I couldn't use another person to distract me, what would I have to face? Maybe grief you never processed. Maybe an old story that says you're only worthy when someone loves you. Maybe the simple fact that you've never built a life that feels good when no one is watching. It's confronting, but it's the doorway, a small practice to test your freedom. Try this for 1 week. Give yourself 10 quiet minutes every morning, no screens, no music, just breathing and one question. What is truly mine to control today? You'll notice how much anxiety shrinks when you stop feeding it first thing. Then each evening, ask, where was I honest? Where did I abandon myself? What 1 degree will I correct tomorrow? This isn't a productivity hack. It's a way back to your center. Love built on wholeness, not need. Here's the paradox. The more you belong to yourself, the better your relationships become. Why? Because you're no longer asking someone else to fix your emptiness. You bring presence instead of pressure. You can give without disappearing, and you can receive without turning the other person into your oxygen tank. When love is chosen from wholeness, distance doesn't break it, and silence doesn't threaten it, because neither of you is clinging to the other to stay alive. Think about the best conversations you've ever had, the ones with pauses that felt like breathing, not panic. That's what happens when two whole people meet. Silence becomes a bridge, not a cliff. A story we've been sold. From childhood, we're told, find your other half. It sounds romantic, but it plants a dangerous idea alone means incomplete. And when you believe that, you'll trade your authenticity for attachment. You'll stay where you should have stepped away. You'll call your own shrinking compromise, and you'll call your anxiety love. But what if the truth is simpler and more empowering? You're not half of anything. You're a complete person learning to choose, not cling. And the more you live from that place, the less you tolerate any bond that demands your absence as its price. What love demands of us. If love is going to be real, it will ask for your honesty. Not the polished, agreeable version, the steady, sometimes inconvenient kind. It will ask for boundaries, not as walls but as edges that keep you from dissolving. It will ask you to hold tension instead of performing peace. And yes, sometimes that means walking away. Not because you're cold, because you refuse to abandon yourself again. The invitation. So, here's the invitation. Right here, right now. Stop calling avoidance romance. Stop calling self-erasure compromise. Stop treating your fear of silence as proof you need more noise. Instead, practice this. Let the quiet be your teacher. Let it show you what hurts, and then what matters. Let it strip away the roles you've been playing so your voice can return stronger, warmer, unmistakably yours. From that place, choose who gets access to you. From that place, rewrite the script. Because in the end, the greatest freedom is realizing you were already whole, and love is sweetest when it doesn't demand you forget. Transition. If this message hits home, stay with me. In the next part, we'll walk through simple daily disciplines, the kind that quietly builds sovereignty so you can enter love as a choice, not a crutch, and keep your center, no matter who stands beside you. Be honest with me for 10 seconds. If your phone went silent tonight, no texts, no hearts, no green dots, would you feel calm or would your chest tighten? What if that tightness isn't about missing someone, but about avoiding yourself, and what we've been calling love is actually a beautifully decorated escape hatch? Why fear wears the mask of love? A lot of people don't enter relationships from wholeness. They grab onto relationships to cover an inner echo. It's not evil, it's human. But when fear sits in the driver's seat, everything starts to wobble. Small disagreements feel like disasters. A day of distance feels like a crack in the glass. You begin to manage, bargain, and shrink anything to keep the other person from walking away. Think about it. How many times have you swallowed a truth because you feared it would ruin the mood? How often have you said, "It's fine," when it wasn't? That isn't intimacy. That's survival mode in a nice outfit. What we're really avoiding. Here's a tough idea from depth psychology. Loneliness doesn't come from an empty room. It comes from the pain of not being able to say what matters and be understood. You can be lonely at a full dinner table if your mouth knows the script, but your soul has no microphone. So we bring someone close and tell ourselves, "See, I'm not alone." But if the important parts of you still have no place to speak, the loneliness stays just quieter. The Stoic lens adds another challenge. The real danger isn't death someday, it's never actually beginning to live. And we never begin when we hand our peace to someone else to hold for us. Love should be a gift we give from life, not a life support machine we cling to. The invisible contract. Fear-based love writes rules no one says out loud. Don't be too much. Don't change too fast. Don't disturb the balance even when the balance is slowly suffocating you. Soon you're editing your opinions, turning down your dreams, and apologizing for your edges. You call it compromise, but your body knows the truth. You feel a little duller. Your laughter lands softer. Your days look tidy but strangely empty. This is the hidden contract of fear. Stay small so I feel safe. A simple test for your heart. Try this. Imagine the person you love disagrees with you deeply, but they stay. Can you still be honest? If the answer is no, because they might leave, fear is steering. Now imagine they go on a trip for 2 weeks. Are you okay in the quiet, or do you scramble for noise? Extra plans, extra scrolling, anyone to fill the silence? That scramble is the signal. A story from real life. A friend of mine, let's call her Maya, kept choosing partners who needed saving. It felt noble. She was important, always necessary, always needed. But every time the relationship slowed down, she felt panic. Not because the guy changed, because the noise stopped. One day she sat in a silent apartment and realized the truth. She wasn't afraid of losing a person. She was afraid of meeting herself. She did something radical. 10 minutes of quiet each morning, no phone, one question. She could say, "I need an hour to think," without apologizing. The relationship improved or ended based on honesty, not anxiety. That's what freedom inside love looks like. What fear-based love feels like red flags you can actually use. Hypervigilance. You read tone like a weather app. One cloud and you rearrange your day. Self-censoring. You rehearse your sentences before speaking because you're managing reactions, not sharing truth. Conditional peace. You feel okay only when they're okay. The moment they pull back, your ground disappears. Tiny betrayals. You say yes when your gut screams no. You do it enough times that your gut stops talking. If 2 or more of these feel familiar, it's not a sign you're broken. It's a sign your heart needs a different foundation. The reframe. Love is choice, not lifeline. Healthy love isn't fragile because it's not holding 2 lives and 2 piles of unfinished inner work. It's a meeting of 2 people who can sit with themselves. When that happens, silence becomes a soft place, not a cliff. Space becomes oxygen, not proof of abandonment. You don't need constant reassurance because you have a home inside your own chest. Stoic practice. You can start tonight. 10 quiet minutes. AM. Sit, breathe, and ask, what is in my control today? Hint, your attitude, your effort, your boundaries. One honest no. Say no to something small that drains you. Boundaries are like muscles, they grow when used. Evening debrief, 5 minutes. 3 prompts. Where was I honest? Where did I abandon myself? 1 degree of correction tomorrow? Small degrees change whole trajectories. Do this for 7 days. Don't announce it. Just watch how your peace stops depending on someone else's weather. Questions that open the door. If I wasn't scared of being alone, what would I stop pretending to enjoy? Which dream did I place on a shelf for the relationship? And what would it take to dust it off? When was the last time I felt fully heard? If you're in a relationship right now, you don't have to blow it up to heal it. Start with 1 clear boundary and 1 vulnerable truth. For example, I need 30 minutes after work to reset, then I'm all yours. Or, I agreed too quickly on that plan. I want to talk about it again with honesty. If the relationship is healthy, it will adjust around your truth. If it can't, that's data you can trust. If you're single, don't treat singlehood as a waiting room. Treat it like a studio, the place where you build a life that feels good, even when no one else is in the frame. When you do that, you'll stop auditioning for love and start interviewing for alignment. Why this matters now. We live in a world of constant pings and instant validation. If we don't build an inner anchor, we get tossed by every mood and message. Fear-based love thrives in that storm, but you can step out of it. Not by swearing off love, by refusing to use it as a hiding place. The takeaway. Love built on fear will always ask you to shrink. Love built on freedom invites you to stand taller. One keeps you negotiating your worth. The other lets you bring your full voice to the table, even when it shakes a little. If you've been living on a lifeline, you don't need to cut it with drama. You need to grow roots so deep that the line becomes optional. Transition. Stay with me. In the next segment, We'll map out the daily micro habits that turn inner freedom into muscle, so you can bring a steadier, truer you into every relationship you choose. Be honest. When did you last hear your own laugh and think, that sounds like me? If it's been a while, it might not be stress or age. It might be the slow, quiet way a relationship can sand you down until your edges almost vanish. The first trade: small, sweet, and dangerous. It never starts with something big. It starts with dinner, with playlists, with weekend plans. You say, no big deal, let's do what you like. Beautiful, generous, human. But here's the twist. Repetition trains the nervous system. If one person always yields, yielding becomes a habit, and habits shape identity. Soon you're adjusting your tone to keep it light. You start pre-editing your opinions because you've learned certain truths. Ruin the vibe. Your dreams wait politely in the hallway while the relationship takes the good seats. None of these choices are evil. They're just tiny. And tiny, repeated long enough, turns into gone. The check engine lights you've been ignoring. You laugh less, or your laugh sounds like you borrowed it. Hobbies turn into maybe later, then, someday, then, I used to. You hesitate before saying what you actually think, mentally editing like you're in a job interview, not a life. Your calendar looks full, but your inner room is empty. Peace depends on someone else being okay first. When the foundation of a relationship is built on a filtered version of you, every storm shakes the house. It's not because you're weak, it's because the structure is pretending to be something it isn't. Why we slide into self-erasure. We don't set out to disappear. We set out to belong. Somewhere along the way, we confuse love with likability and commitment with constant agreement. We call it compromise, but compromise without clarity becomes self-cancellation. There's a difference between adapting and erasing. Adapting says, I'll meet you in the middle. Erasing says, I won't bring myself at all. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Disappearing can feel safe. If I'm softer, quieter, easier, maybe I won't be left. But safety at the price of self is a slow kind of suffering. A story we recognize. Maybe too well. A listener wrote me last year. Let's call him Daniel. He loved photography, long walks, loud debates about ideas. He fell for someone kind but conflict avoidant. So Daniel learned to clip his sentences. He put the camera in a drawer and told himself, quality time mattered more. Date nights were warm, Instagram looked happy. One evening, walking home past a gallery opening, he felt a sharp grief and didn't know why. Then he did. The man on the invitation, bold, curious, alive, looked like someone he used to know. Himself. It wasn't a dramatic breakup moment. It was a recognition. I am disappearing by degrees. And recognitions like that are rescue flares. You either follow them or you drown quietly with a smile. Courage as a daily practice. Old wisdom says, the bravest people are free people. Not because they fight everyone, but because they stop performing to be loved. One honest sentence where you used to give a polite one. One protected hour for a practice that makes you you. One boundary that says, I won't trade my spark for your comfort. Each small act is a brick in the road back home. The mind dies. The soul. Why? Thoughts matter. What we dwell on, we become colored by. If your inner soundtrack repeats, keep it smooth, don't make a fuss, don't be too much, your soul will wear muted tones. You won't notice the shift on day 3. You'll notice it on year 3 when life is stable. But your eyes don't light up anymore. Flip the script. New inner lines. My truth is not a threat. It is a bridge. Peace is not the absence of tension. It's the presence of honesty. Love that requires my silence isn't love, it's costume. A 7-day reset to reappear. Morning 10. No phone. Ask, What would the real me do today even once? Then schedule that one act first. Guardian hour. Protect 60 minutes for a forgotten practice. Painting, lifting, reading, walking. Put it on the shared calendar. Treat it as non-negotiable as work. One brave truth. Choose one topic you've been cushioning. Share it calmly, early, and completely. No performance, no apology. Boundary rehearsal. In the mirror, I'm not available for that tonight. I need time to think. That joke doesn't work for me. Rehearsal lowers fear. Midweek audit. What did you cancel that feeds you? Name the cost. Write one paragraph. The price of disappearing has been. Seeing the bill makes nice feel expensive. Choose a witness. Tell a trusted friend your 1-week plan. Not to get permission, just to stay visible to yourself. What if they don't like the new you? 2 possibilities. It's not new you're returning. Healthy partners adjust when they realize they've been relating to a smaller version of you. They may need time. Offer it. Invite them in. Or, the relationship was built on your shrinking. If your truth breaks it, it wasn't true. Painful? Yes. But it's cheaper than losing yourself for another decade. How to bring your full self without becoming a bulldozer. Being whole isn't being harsh. Try this phrasing trio. Observation. I've noticed I've been holding back on X. Ownership. That's on me, and I want to do it differently. Offer. Here's what would help me stay real while staying close. Are you open to trying it this week? This is how 2 adults renovate a relationship without tearing down the house. What returns when you reappear? Laughter that sounds like you. Energy that doesn't leak through constant people-pleasing. Ideas that feel risky and alive. A steadier peace that isn't rented from someone else's mood. Relationships built on your full voice are stronger, not shakier. Because truth, even when it trembles, holds better than performance at its best. Simple questions to reclaim direction. If I weren't afraid of losing approval, what would I say this week? Which hobby did I box up to make room for us? And when will I unbox it? Where am I asking love to keep me safe from my own growth? The takeaway. Disappearing is easier than we think and more expensive than we admit. The bill comes due as boredom, quiet resentment, and a life that looks fine but feels thin. Reappearance is also simpler than we fear. One honest sentence, one protected hour, one boundary spoken without shaking, even if you shake. Transition, stay with me. In the next chapter, we'll move from personal courage to shared structure, the rituals and agreements that let 2 people grow without one person fading. Because love should make you more yourself, not less. Quick gut check. When someone asks, "So, are you seeing anyone?" Do you feel curious about your own path, or a flash of shame like you missed a deadline? If that sting feels familiar, it's not because you're broken. It's because you've been handed a script that says, you're not complete until there's 2. Let's talk about that. Calmly, honestly, and with a way out. How the script gets written. It starts early. Fairy tales, rom-coms, holiday dinners, the casual auntie question. When's it your turn? None of this is evil. It's culture doing what culture does. Offering a template, but templates turn into handcuffs when we mistake them for laws. By the time we're adults, many of us have absorbed a quiet formula. Partnered equals success. So we swipe, say yes, and settle not always because we're ready, but because we're supposed to be. We don't ask, who am I becoming? We ask, do I fit the timeline? The real cost of living on autopilot. Here's the danger of following the script without checking your soul. You enter a relationship as a role, not a person. You play reliable boyfriend, supportive girlfriend, future spouse, and you perform well. Until the mask gets heavy. Then tiny cracks show. You laugh less, your interests flatten, your weekends feel like obligations with better lighting. Worse, you build tolerance for harm, subtle disrespect, chronic misalignment, because the alternative would be returning to that dreaded label, alone. You tell yourself, every relationship is work, but what you're doing isn't work. It's self-abandonment dressed as maturity. Why we confuse belonging with self-erasure. Most of us don't want a person as much as we want a feeling. Safety, recognition. But when you chase that feeling at any cost, you start sanding down your edges to keep the peace. You think you're being loving. Really, you're making yourself smaller to fit the frame. And here's the harder truth. Sometimes we'd rather be understood by someone than truly understood by ourselves. Facing your full self, your hunger, your fear, your unrealized potential can feel like standing at the edge of a cliff. So we pick the hallway with the most people in it and call it home. A different measure of a good life. What if the standard wasn't, are you coupled, but are you alive in your own skin? Some people blossom in deep partnership. Others need long, uninterrupted seasons of solitude to grow roots. There isn't one correct rhythm. There's only the rhythm that makes you truer. Ancient wisdom points us inward. The foundation of a good life is built from the inside out. You carry peace, direction, and meaning in your own hands. When you forget that, you outsource your worth to milestones, and milestones are terrible at loving you back. A story that might sound like yours. A viewer will call her, Lila hit all the marks by 32. Engaged, home bought, joint vacation photos. But she stopped painting, the thing that once made time disappear. When I asked why, she said, we're so busy building a future. Then she whispered, and he doesn't really get it. It feels childish. One Saturday, she walked past a street artist and felt a thud in her chest. Not jealousy, recognition. The ache wasn't about the fiancé. It was about the version of herself she'd quietly left behind to look on track. She didn't break the engagement. She did something braver first. She returned to her studio table for 1 hour a day. From that hour came honesty, and from honesty came better conversations. The relationship improved because she stopped negotiating against her own soul. Spotting the script in your own life. Ask yourself, do I measure progress by external milestones more than inner alignment? Have I said yes to a relationship because it looked right on paper or soothed family chatter? Which parts of me went quiet so my life would look normal? If answering these stings, that's good. Rewriting the scene without burning the set. You don't need to declare war on romance. You need to refuse the idea that love is the only legitimate path to adulthood. Try this 4-step reset. Name the narrative. Write down the exact lines you've absorbed. By 30 I should, real adults, single means. Seeing the script on paper makes it easier to question. Choose your season. Are you in a building season, solitude, skill, health, purpose, or a bridging season, ready to share? Neither is morally superior. What matters is honesty. Other I and a sing and day. Into a man and 7. In the morally superior default, say, redraw the scoreboard. Replace couple milestones with inner ones. Mornings you wake clear, hours spent in flow, boundaries kept, practices that make you proud in private. Practice brave conversation. With family, I love you. Please stop using my relationship status as a progress bar. Here's what I'm building this year. With dates, I'm not rushing a timeline. I'm looking for alignment. With yourself, I won't trade my becoming for applause. If you're already in a relationship, great. Bring your real self back into the room. Try a weekly meeting with 2 questions. Where did we choose comfort over growth this week? What one honest change would make next week truer for both of us? Healthy partnership can hold that tension. If it can't, better to learn now than after more years of polite pretend. If you're single by choice or by chapter, stop calling it a waiting room. Call it a studio. Use the space. Build a life that feels complete on its own terms. Work you respect, health you own, friends who sharpen you, a schedule that reflects your values. Then, if someone arrives, you're not asking them to complete a picture. You're inviting them to appreciate it. Micro habits to break cultural gravity. Morning check-in, 5 minutes. What would make today meaningful, even if no one sees it? Do that first. 1 refusal per day. Say no to a plan that's about optics, not alignment. Boundaries teach your nervous system you're safe without consensus. Solo date weekly. Visit a museum, hike, journal in a cafe, no phone buffer. Learn the texture of your own company. Celebrate private wins. Keep a no-witness log of moments you're proud of that no one else knows. This rebuilds inner validation. Why this isn't selfish. Choosing a path that fits your nature is not a rejection of others, it's a gift to them. Whole people love better. They don't cling, guilt, or bend truth to keep the peace. They can say, I want you here, not I need you to make me real. The takeaway. Culture offers a chorus. Your life needs a solo. Some will cheer. The goal is not universal approval. It's integrity, walking in a way that your future self will thank you for. Whether you pair off or walk alone for a while, let it be a choice, not a reflex. Transition. Stay with me. Next, we'll turn this clarity into structure, simple rituals, and agreements that protect your becoming, whether you're building alone or building together, so your life grows wider without you growing smaller. Let me ask you something simple and uncomfortable. Who would you be if no one ever chose you? If that question makes your stomach drop, good, you just found the hidden script. Many of us were taught to believe we're a half looking for a whole. And when you believe that, every choice starts orbiting around being picked, kept, and approved. Today, we're going to break that orbit calmly, practically, and for good. The cost of believing you're incomplete. The other half story sounds romantic, but it sneaks in a dangerous line. Live with that belief long enough, and you start polishing parts of yourself to fit a frame. Softer opinions, smaller dreams, a schedule shaped around someone else's gravity. You call it devotion. It feels noble. But underneath the glow is dependence love as a lifeline, not a choice. And lifelines always come with quiet rules. Don't grow too quickly. Don't rock the boat. Don't be so you that the bond feels threatened. Here's the paradox. The more you cling to be kept, the less keepable you become. Not because you're unworthy, but because anxiety replaces aliveness. You become a role instead of a person, predictable, careful, edited. Dependence can wear a beautiful outfit, but it slowly erodes the thing love was drawn to in the first place. Your distinct, unrepeatable spark, what we're really chasing. Most of us aren't chasing a person. We're chasing a feeling, safety, affirmation, relief from the pressure of carrying our own life. That's human. But when we outsource that feeling, we start bargaining with our identity. If I'm easy enough, if I'm needed enough, maybe I'll be safe enough. The price is high and always paid in small, almost invisible installments. The joke you don't tell, the idea you bury, the no you swallow. There's a steadier path. Instead of seeking safety from someone, build safety within someone you. A quick litmus test. 3 questions to spot dependence in disguise. If they didn't text back tonight, would I feel disappointed or unmoored? If I told the full truth about what I want, would I fear losing them more than losing myself? If this ended tomorrow, do I have a life, habits, friends, work, meaning that still feels like mine? If 2 or more sting, that's not shame, it's a map. A story we know too well. A listener, call him Aaron, told me he finally won the person he'd been chasing for years. He became the perfect partner, always available, always agreeable, always adjusting. 6 months later, he was exhausted and oddly resentful. Not because his partner was cruel, but because the contract was, I'll be less me if you promise never to leave. One Sunday morning, he heard his own voice in a coffee shop answering, "Whatever you want," and realized he didn't know what he wanted anymore. Aaron didn't blow up the relationship. He did something braver first. 3 non-negotiables on the calendar. 1 honest boundary per week, and a commitment to say what he meant without performing. The bond either improved or it would end on the truth, not on pretend. That's what freedom inside love looks like. Wholeness is built, not found. Let's ground this. You don't become whole by waiting for a perfect partner. You become whole by practicing a perfect responsibility over your choices, your attention, your habits. Ancient wisdom is blunt about it. The more your peace depends on someone else's behavior, the less free you are. Freedom isn't loud rebellion. Freedom is quiet self-mastery. Think of wholeness as internal surplus, enough purpose, discipline, rest, and honesty, that you can share love without turning it into oxygen. From that surplus, love stops being a crutch and becomes a gift. The 5 practices that end dependence. Morning ownership, 10 minutes. No phone. Ask, what is mine to control today? Write 3 actions. 1 for health, 1 for craft, 1 for character. For example, hold a boundary kindly, then do the smallest step immediately. The necessary no. Say no to 1 nice but draining request each day. Boundaries reteach your nervous system that safety lives inside choices, not in constant agreement. Solo hour. Scheduled. A fixed hour weekly, devoted to something that makes you fiercely alive. Lifting, painting, study, a long walk. Put it on a shared calendar. Treat it like a job, because your identity is a job. Truth reps. Once per week, speak 1 full truth you'd typically soften. Calm voice, clear content, clean ending. Truth is a muscle. It only grows with load. Break the mirror habit. Notice when you scan someone's face to decide how to feel. Instead, check your breath, posture, and values. What do I stand for right now? Choose your state before you read theirs. 7 days of this won't change your history. How to love without shrinking. Wholeness doesn't mean you bulldoze. It means you bring your full height and still choose kindness. Try this 3-step script when the old anxiety flares. Name it. I've been quick to say yes because I'm afraid of disappointing you. Own it. That's on me. Ask cleanly. Here's what works for me this week. Tuesday night to myself, and I'm excited to be fully present Friday. If the relationship is healthy, it will flex. If it can't make room for your reality, it isn't rejecting you. It's rejecting the disappearance of you. That's a gift in disguise. If you're single, by choice or by chapter, retire the phrase just single. Call it what it can be, a build season. Build savings, stamina, and standards. Build a circle that sharpens you. Build a morning you're proud of and an evening you trust. Then when someone arrives, you won't be auditioning for love. You'll be interviewing for alignment. If you're coupled right now, don't confuse ease with health. Schedule a weekly state of us, 20 minutes, 2 questions each. Where did I abandon myself this week? What one change would make next week truer for both of us? Trade answers. Make 1 promise each. Keep it. Couplehood gets lighter when neither of you is carrying the other's identity. Why this matters more than ever. We live in a world that sells speed and reassurance. The other half myth thrives in that climate because it offers both quick pairing, quick labels, quick relief. But quick rarely equals true. Slow is where substance grows. In the quiet hours, in the small choices, in the steady practice of being someone you respect when no one is clapping. The takeaway, you were never half. You were always a whole person learning how to choose. Dependence will whisper that shrinking is safer. Wholeness will ask you to stand. Only one of those paths lets love taste like freedom. Transition. Stay with me. In the next segment, will turn wholeness into structured daily rituals and relationship agreements that protect your identity and deepen your connection. So love can expand your life without erasing it. Be honest. When was the last time you sat in a quiet room with no music, no messages, no one waiting on you, just breath and thought, and didn't reach for a distraction in the first 3 minutes? If that sounds impossible, you're not broken. You're just out of practice. Today I want to show you why solitude isn't a punishment, it's a teacher. And when you learn from it, 3 things awaken: clarity, creativity, and the kind of deep flow that makes time disappear. Why the first minutes feel uncomfortable? Solitude feels prickly at the start because noise has been running your nervous system. We've trained our brains to chase pings and opinions. When the noise drops out, the backlog surfaces old questions, small fears, the decisions we've postponed. That discomfort isn't a danger sign. It's a dashboard light. 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4. Stay with it, and you'll notice something surprising. The mental static settles, and a steady voice returns, the one that knows your values and what actually matters today. Think of it this way. The outside world is a crowded marketplace. Solitude is the workshop behind it, the door you close to design something real. The best builders don't live in the market, they visit it. They live in the workshop. Clarity. Hearing your true signal. 5 minutes into real quiet, patterns appear. You notice how much of your day is reaction, not direction. You remember the promise you made to yourself last year and quietly dropped. You see where you've been negotiating against your own standards to keep the peace. That's clarity. Not a magic answer, but a clean readout of where you're aligned and where you're off by a few degrees. Try a simple prompt when you sit down. What is in my control today? Effort, attitude, boundaries. What is the smallest action that honors who I say I am? Clarity is humble, like that small steps that point in the right direction, taken early, before the world borrows your agenda. Creativity. A private lab for your mind. Noise makes your ideas polite. Solitude lets them get weird in the best way. When you work alone for a focused hour, something changes. You follow a thought longer than is reasonable. You sketch a draft that would embarrass you in a meeting, and that's exactly why it becomes interesting. Without an audience, you stop editing in advance. You experiment, break, and rebuild. I have a painter friend who calls her studio the lab. She says, I go there to make mistakes on purpose. That's the secret. Without solitude, you're always performing. With solitude, you're exploring. And exploration is where original work is born. Flow, where time slips and depth arrives. Flow doesn't visit crowded rooms. It shows up when interruptions have nowhere to land. You've felt it before. You look up and 2 hours vanished, and you're oddly energized instead of drained. Flow is less about talent and more about conditions. It needs clear goals, immediate feedback, and this is the hard part: unbroken attention. Here's how to build those conditions. Single target. 1 task, not 3. Visible progress. A page count, a timer, a checklist. No negotiation window. A set block where you can't bargain with yourself. Give yourself 45-90 minutes. Park distractions in another room. Your brain will resist for 5 minutes, then settle, then sink. That last part is where the good work hides. A story from a quiet kitchen. A viewer wrote me about his Saturday mornings. He used to roll out of bed, scroll, make coffee, and start catching up. It felt productive. It wasn't. He tried a new ritual. Silent coffee, 10 lines in a notebook, then a 1-hour deep block. No music, no tabs, just the most meaningful task of the week. Within 3 Saturdays, he had 2 chapters of a book draft, a calmer mood, and his words, a voice I hadn't heard since college. That voice was always there. He just needed a quiet kitchen to hear it. What solitude is not. It's not isolation from love. It's not the cold shoulder to your family. It's not flinching from the world. Healthy solitude is scheduled and purposeful. It's a daily appointment with your inner compass so you can return to people with more to give and less to prove. The 7-day Quiet Power Challenge. 10 before 10. 10 minutes of silence before 10 a.m. No phone, no music. Breathe and ask, what matters most today, even if no one sees it? Write one line. The Lab Hour. One 60-90-minute block every other day. Choose a single target. Write 500 words. Design one concept. Learn one skill drill. Track progress on paper. Micro detox. Choose a daily no-input pocket, walk, dishes, shower, where you let your thoughts roam without adding content. One bold draft. Make something you would never show right away. Flow setup. Timer. Full screen mode. Notifications off. Phone in another room. Start with 5 minutes. If you want to quit, bargain after minute 5, not before. Evening debrief. 5 minutes. 3 bullets. What I honored, where I drifted. 1 degree to correct tomorrow. Sunday review. Flip through the week. Circle one small moment that felt like you. Schedule more of that next week. Common resistances and better answers. I don't have time. You don't need 3 hours. You need 45 minutes you protect like a meeting with your future self. I get bored. Boredom is detox the brain asking for a hit of novelty. Sit through it. On the other side is attention with teeth. I feel selfish. Selfish is using people to avoid yourself. Solitude is doing your inner work so you don't hand that bill to others. The Stoic thread. Translated for today, ancient wisdom points to the same place. Step back regularly and recenter, where control actually lives inside your choices. Create a pocket of peace that no headline or mood can steal. When you do, you carry stillness into noisy rooms. You're less reactive, more deliberate. You speak softer and land harder. Questions to open the door. If no one expected anything from me this morning, what would I build anyway? What project gets 60 minutes this week, even if it never makes me money or wins applause? Where does my attention go when I don't tell it where to go, and do I like that destination? Why this matters now. We live in an age of endless voices. If you don't choose one of them to be yours, the loudest algorithm will choose for you. Solitude is how you keep authorship. It's the difference between a life you broadcast and a life you actually inhabit. The takeaway: solitude starts as friction and turns into fuel. Stay through the first 5 uncomfortable minutes, and you earn the hour that changes your week. You return to your people clearer, kinder, and harder to shake because your center doesn't live in their reactions anymore. It lives in you. Transition. Stay with me. Next, we'll stack simple agreements and rituals, solo and shared, that protect this quiet power. So your clarity survives busy seasons and your creativity keeps growing even when life gets loud. Quick truth test. When someone you love is in a bad mood, do you immediately scan the room, change your tone, and rehearse the perfect sentence in your head just to keep the peace? If that feels familiar, you're not too sensitive. You're overcarrying. Today we're going to detox calmly, practically, so your nervous system can settle. Your joy can stand on its own feet, and you can love people without dragging their weather into your sky. Why your nervous system is tired. Most of us learned early to be the thermostat for other people's emotions. We read faces like weather reports and adjust ourselves to fix the climate. That constant micromanagement keeps your body in low-grade alert. Tight shoulders, shallow breath, a mind that never stops rehearsing conversations that might happen. No wonder you're exhausted before lunch. Here's the shift. You're responsible to people, not for people. Responsible to be clear, kind, and honest. Not for their reactions, stories, or old storms. The moment you return that responsibility to its rightful owner, your system unclenches. Space opens. The static fades. The Stoic reset. Translated for real life. Peace isn't handed out by events. It's generated by the meaning you assign to them. Someone cancels on you? That's the event. I'm not important is the judgment. The detox starts by separating the two. Event. They replied short. Judgment. They're angry. I did something wrong. Alternative read. They're rushed. I'll ask directly if we're okay. This isn't denial. It's choosing a steady readout before your mind writes a horror script. When your interpretation aligns with reality, not fear, your emotions stabilize. Signs you're carrying what isn't yours. You can't relax until everyone in the room is cheerful. You apologize for feelings you didn't cause. You lose your own preferences because you're busy managing everyone else's. Your day is good or ruined, depending on a single text bubble. If two or more resonate, great, you found the levers we can move. A short story, you might recognize yourself here. A listener, let's call her Renee, worked with a boss whose tone changed hourly. On quiet days, Renee overproduced to preempt criticism. On chatty days, she overshared to keep the warmth going. By dinner, she was numb. Her shift started with one rule taped to her monitor. Clear, not caretaking. She still communicated well. She stopped performing emotional CPR on grown adults. 3 weeks later, her sleep improved, her tempo evened out, and ironically, her boss respected her more. Why? Calm is contagious, and self-possession reads as competence. The three-part emotional detox. Name it, label, don't fuse. When a wave hits tight chest, spinning thoughts say out loud, quietly if needed. Anxiety is present, not I am anxious, identity, but anxiety is present, experience. This one-word gap gives you choice. Locate it, body before story. Ask, where is it in my body? Shoulders, throat, stomach? Take 6 slow exhales. Lengthen the out-breath. Your body de-escalates before your brain agrees. Then ask, what event triggered this? Separate event from judgment. Limit it, return what isn't yours. Use 3 questions. Is this mine to control? Is this mine to influence? A request, not a rescue. Or not mine at all. Let go. Stop running other people's nervous systems. Write the answer. Act only on what's yours. Sovereign communication, both kind and clear. When someone dumps their weather on you, try the C. ALM. Script. Clarify the event. When messages came in all caps today, assert your reality. I felt pressured and started guessing what you needed. Limit the load. I'm responsible for responding. I'm not responsible for fixing the mood. Make a clean ask. Can we use bullet points for urgency and discuss tone after 4 p.m.? You didn't diagnose them. You named behavior, owned your reaction, set a boundary, and offered a path forward. That's emotional leadership, not control. Building joy that doesn't depend on other people's weather. Joy that lasts is self-generated. Practices you own, promises you keep with yourself, work that puts you in flow. 3 daily anchors. Anchor 1, morning ownership, 10 minutes. Ask, what matters today, even if no one sees it? Do one tiny step. Walk 8 minutes, write 100 words, tidy 1 drawer. Skip and bow, skip and bow, skip and bow, skip and bow. Your brain learns I move my day. Anchor 2, the 90-minute flow block, 3-4x divided by week. 1 task, phone out of the room, visible progress, measure word count, reps, pages. Flow stabilizes mood more than compliments ever could. Anchor 3, evening debrief, 5 minutes. 3 lines. What I honored. Where I fused with someone else. 1 adjustment tomorrow. Tiny course corrections become new coastlines. Boundaries that don't burn bridges. Boundaries aren't doors slammed. their door frames set. Try these humane lines. Thank you for watching and getting in the depth to bring the round. I want to help, and I can talk about this for 20 minutes, not all evening. I'm here to listen, not to choose for you. I care about you. I won't accept being yelled at. Say it warmly. Once. If needed, repeat once. Then act. Boundaries are real only when enforced. Common traps and better choices. Trap. If I relax, they'll fall apart. Better. If your calm is the only glue, the system is already broken. Model steadiness. Don't subsidize chaos. Trap. If I set limits, I'm selfish. Better. It's selfish to use people to soothe your anxiety. It's loving to self-regulate so you show up clean. Trap. I just need them to change. Better. You need a plan that works even if they don't. That's freedom. Questions that open the door. Whose mood controls too much of my day, and what 10-minute practice can reclaim that control? Where did I mistake caretaking for connection? If my peace didn't depend on any person today, what would I do differently by 5 p.m.? Write one answer. Put it on today's calendar. The takeaway. Emotional detox is not emotional distance. It's emotional clarity. This is me. This is you. This I will carry. This I will not. When you stop rehearsing everyone else's lines, your nervous system remembers what rest feels like. Your joy stops being a hostage. And your love freed from fear lands deeper because it's offered by choice, not obligation. Transition. Stay with me. Next, we'll stack simple rituals and relationship agreements that keep this clarity alive so your center holds in busy seasons and your connections get kinder without you becoming smaller. Quick gut check. When people can't predict your next move, do they call you free? If you've ever felt punished for not fitting the script, because the world loves what it can forecast and genuine freedom refuses to be a spreadsheet. Why systems prefer the predictable? Families, workplaces, even friend groups run on predictability. It keeps calendars clean and conversations easy. When you chart the usual path, date, marry, buy, settle, everyone knows their lines. You're legible, so you're celebrated. But independence is harder to file. You say, I'm taking a year to build my health, and someone replies, are you avoiding commitment? You skip a weekend gathering to write, and the group chat wonders if you're pulling away. That discomfort isn't really about you. It's about the anxiety people feel when your life proves there are more options than the ones they chose. So the labels show up: lonely, selfish, incomplete. Labels are cheap fences meant to herd you back to the middle of the pasture. What true freedom actually looks like. Freedom doesn't mean no ties. It means no ties that own you. It's the ability to choose connection without using it to outsource your peace. Free people are hard to manage, not because they're chaotic, but because their decisions aren't driven by fear. Fear of being left, judged, or excluded. Their compass is internal: values, vision, and the few promises they actually keep. Here's the catch. The price of that freedom is full responsibility. Wins and losses with your signature on them. No one else to blame. That's why real independence is rare. It's easier to rent identity from a group than to build one brick by brick. A story you might recognize. A viewer, let's call her Tessa, left a steady job to start a small studio after 15 years. She wasn't running from responsibility. She wanted to own it differently. First quarter, silence from old coworkers, polite concern from family, and a few jokes about her midlife experimental phase. She kept her head down and made 3 promises: daily outreach, 1 client wow per week, and Sunday reviews. Month 4, work grew. Month 6, the same people who called her reckless asked for advice about feeling stuck. Tessa didn't gloat. She smiled and said, I decided my life should be a vote I cast, not a script I follow. That's freedom. Less noise, more authorship. Why independence gets mislabeled. Your pace breaks the metronome. When you decline a timeline, the group loses its chorus. Your no reveals invisible trades. When you protect your mornings, others notice how often they give theirs away. That sting? It's not your problem to fix. Your calm can't be leveraged. Guilt and approval stop working on you, and systems that rely on those tools lose leverage. People often mock what they secretly want. Mislabels are defensive spells. If independence is selfish, then their fear is wise. If singleness is sad, then their compromise is noble. See the trick? Ownership, the quiet superpower. Freedom without ownership is fantasy. Ownership means your calendar reflects your values. Your spending mirrors your priorities. Your outcomes, good and bad, are yours. That seriousness makes you trustworthy, especially to yourself. You stop bargaining with your standards when no one's watching. 3 questions I use weekly. Where did I trade integrity for approval? What decision did I delay to avoid being the only one responsible? What small, courageous act would bring my life back under my signature by Friday? Write the answer. Put it where your feet can see it, your calendar. How to handle the labels without becoming defensive. Try the RELABEL approach. Recognize the function. This label is a fence, not a fact. Extract the signal. Is there a grain of feedback I can use? Sometimes there is. A. Language your choice. I'm choosing X because it aligns with Y. I lines with Y, cost 10, do and assert your boundary. Please stop framing independence as a flaw. Be brief. Over-explaining is a bid for permission you don't need. Enlist an ally. One person who respects your lane. Let time speak. Results quiet the room better than arguments. Script example to family. Hey, I love you all. I'm building my health and craft this season, so I'm skipping some events. That's not distance, that's discipline. Please don't call it selfish, call it focus. Building freedom. Muscle, 5 micro practices. 1 unbargainable hour. Daily. Put your highest value block on the calendar. Health, skill, or deep work. Phone in another room. If life hits, protect at least 30 minutes. Show your nervous system that you steer the day. The clean. No. Once a day, decline a nice but misaligned ask with 1 sentence. No apology. Not this week. Protecting a deadline. Your no is a boundary, not a biography. Private proof log. Each evening, jot 1 action that matched your values. No audience. Private proof grows self-respect faster than public praise. Weekly risk reps. Do 1 small scary. A pitch, a candid conversation, a first class. Risk inoculation lowers your need for permission. Radical review Sunday. What did I produce? What fed me? What will I stop doing? Ownership loves data. Give it some. Independence. Inside relationships. Freedom is not anti-love. In healthy bonds, independence makes love cleaner. Try a weekly 2-question ritual with your partner or close friend. What did we do this week that honored each person's non-negotiables? Where did we lean on the other for what we should have owned ourselves? This isn't cold. It's honest. And honesty is warmer in the long run than over-reliance ever was. Common traps and better moves. Trap. If I stand apart, I'll be alone. Move. Stand apart and belong to communities aligned with your values. Writers' rooms, running clubs, faith groups, maker circles. Replace generic belonging with targeted belonging. Trap. If I take full responsibility, failure will crush me. Move. Define failure as data with a receipt. Run postmortems, not pity parties. What did I control? What will I change by Tuesday? Trap. Explaining will make them understand. Move. Brief clarity plus consistent behavior. Understanding follows outcomes. Questions to turn labels into fuel. If no one needed to approve, what decision would I make by the end of this week? What label stung me recently, and what value was I protecting when I earned it? What's one place I can move from vague preference to clear policy? For example, mornings are for making, not meetings. Write one answer. Put it on the calendar. That's the difference between a wish and a choice. Why this matters now. We live in an age that monetizes your attention and standardizes your path. Independence is a threat to both. Not because it's rebellious by nature, but because a person who owns their time, money, and mind is hard to herd. Systems can't easily sell to a soul that knows what it's building. The takeaway, let them label. You live. Real freedom isn't loud or defensive. It's steady decisions made from values, not from fear. And yes, it makes you harder to manage. Good. You weren't born to be managed. You were born to be responsible. When wins and losses carry your signature, your life stops being a performance and starts being a promise you keep. Transition. Stay with me. Next, we'll translate this freedom into structure, daily rituals and simple agreements that protect your independence and deepen your connections, so you can be unpredictable to the crowd and utterly reliable to yourself. Real talk. If you had to choose between being comfortably dependent or quietly powerful, which would you pick today? Not in theory. Sovereignty sounds sexy on paper. Own your time, your money, your decisions. But the fine print is real. Fewer automatic cuddles, fewer ready-made plans, more nights where the only voice in the room is your own. If that makes you gulp, good. We're not here to sell you a fantasy. We're here to show you why the price is high and why the reward is worth it. The cost. What you give up when you choose yourself. Sovereignty doesn't steal comfort all at once. It cancels the subscription. Fewer autopilot comforts. No built-in weekend plans, no default +1. You might spend Friday arranging your own evening bookstore, gym, studio, rather than being swept along by someone else's calendar. The midnight mirror. When you stop leaning on approval, your doubts show up. Am I enough? Did I choose wrong? There's no quick fix. Only breathing, pen, paper, unfiltered feedback. Without a partner to soften reality, you see your blind spots. Finances you avoided, health you postponed, dreams you kept for later. Sovereignty turns later into now or not at all, both are confronting. And yes, you lose certain nice things. The automatic hug at 7 p.m., the shared grocery list, the easy banter on the couch. Choosing sovereignty is like switching from an escalator to stairs. It's the same destination, but your legs will burn. The gain. What arrives when you pay the price? But here's the turn. The burn builds strength. Your time comes home. Mornings aren't negotiated, they're designed. You put the most meaningful thing first. Health, craft, prayer, learning, and the day feels different. Your resources respond. Money follows clarity. You track where it goes, choose where it serves, and your future starts to look like a choice, not a reaction. Your relationships upgrade. When you stop using people to steady you, connection becomes clean. That changes the tone, less cling, more respect, fewer tests, more truth. Think of sovereignty as internal surplus. You build enough peace and purpose inside that love becomes a gift, not a gas tank. A story from the quiet side of courage. A viewer, let's call her Naomi, left a good relationship that wasn't a true fit. Not dramatic, just misaligned. The first month, she missed the shared playlists and check-ins. The second month, she noticed something new. Saturday mornings got sharper. She ran, cooked, wrote, and by noon, she had built more life than she used to fit into whole weekends. By month 4, she dated again slowly, sanely. Her rule was simple. I won't trade the life I like for the fantasy I'm sold. She didn't need less love. She needed love that fit the person she was becoming. That's the prize. Not isolation, integration. Why responsibility is the real freedom switch. We love the word freedom, but the switch that powers it is responsibility. When outcomes, wins, and losses carry your signature, you get stronger because excuses stop working. You quit outsourcing your peace to moods, algorithms, or other people's plans. Ancient wisdom said it plainly: no one is truly free until they can master themselves. Mastery isn't control freak energy, it's quiet consistency. Try this weekly checkpoint. What did I control well? Actions, attitude, boundaries. Where did I drift? Distraction, people-pleasing, delay. So, Avery to Blasses has for like, which 1 degree will I correct by Friday? 1 call, 1 bill, 1 walk, 1 truth. Small degrees make new coastlines. The real fear behind the price tag. Most of us aren't afraid of doing things alone. We're afraid of what we'll hear in the quiet. Will the dream feel too big? Will the truth say a job or a relationship has expired? Sovereignty doesn't promise comfort. It promises clarity. And clarity will either ask for a bolder yes or a clean no. Both are forms of respect for your one life. How to pay the price without breaking the bank. Practicals. 1. Unbreakable hour. Daily. Health, craft, or study, pick one. Phone out of the room. It's not self-care. It's self-government. The clean ledger. Weekly. Track your money and your minutes. If you don't count them, someone else will spend them. Truth reps. Weekly. 1 honest sentence you normally soften. Calm tone. No apology. Permission. Detox. Daily. Before you ask 5 friends, ask your values. Does this align with who I said I am? If yes, proceed. If no, pass. Sunday alignment. 3 lines in a notebook. What I built, what I stopped, what I'll dare next. Put 1 daring action on the calendar by name and time. These aren't life hacks. They're load-bearing beams. Relationships. Under sovereignty, the good kind of tension. If you're partnered, sovereignty makes love sturdier. Try a 20-minute weekly state of us. What did we each own well this week? Where did we ask the other to carry what was ours? Then each person promises 1 adjustment. If you're single, retire the phrase waiting. Call it a build season. Build stamina, standards, savings, and skills. Build a morning you respect and an evening you trust. Then when someone arrives, you're interviewing for alignment, not auditioning for worth. Common pushbacks and better replies. Isn't this selfish? Using people to avoid your own life is selfish. Owning your life so you can show up clean is generous. What if I fail? You will. Call it data. Run a post-mortem. What did I control? What will I change by Tuesday? Courage grows when failure stops being fatal. Won't I be lonely? Sometimes. But loneliness in an honest life beats company in a false one, and the solitude won't last. People who live from the inside out tend to attract friends who do the same. The inner shift that changes everything. At some point, a quiet sentence replaces the old script. The moment that sentence becomes your policy, pressure loosens. You stop sprinting for permission. You start walking with direction. Questions to anchor this week. What comfort am I willing to release so I can gain a larger freedom? Which decision am I avoiding because it would put my name on the result? If I lived as if my life were a promise I keep, not a performance I stage, what would change by Friday? Pick one. Put it on your calendar with a timestamp. Sovereignty enters the chat when your values hit your schedule. The takeaway. The price of sovereignty is real. Fewer autopilot comforts, more honest nights, and a front row seat to your own imperfections. The prize is bigger. Time you own, energy you direct, relationships that thrive because you don't ask them to rescue you. After you taste that steady strength, it's hard, almost impossible, to go back to a life where your peace depends on someone else's weather. Transition. Stay with me. Next, we'll turn sovereignty into systems, simple daily rituals, and shared agreements that protect your identity and deepen your connections. So freedom isn't a mood, it's your method. Quick self-check. If your phone lost signal for the next 24 hours, would you feel free? Or would you start hunting for Wi-Fi like oxygen? That reaction tells you something. Many of us have been trained to fill silence, more messages, more plans, more noise, because we're afraid of what the quiet might say. But there's a turning point, a real one, when the thing you used to escape becomes the place you get your power. The moment the compulsion fades, you know you're crossing that threshold when the itch to constantly check, prove, or reassure. A pause in conversation doesn't feel like danger. You can sit with an unanswered question without making up a scary story. The first time this happens, it's almost eerie. Your body expects the old alarm. It doesn't arrive. Instead, a steadier voice shows up. I can handle this. I'll respond when I'm ready. That's not indifference, it's ownership. The nervous system learns a new script, safety from the inside out. What strength in stillness really looks like. Stillness isn't passivity. It's a different kind of strength direction without panic. The outside looks simple. Slower speech, calmer eyes, fewer explanations. The inside is busy in the best way. You're sorting facts from assumptions, needs from habits, yours from theirs. Loss stops equaling collapse. A plan shifts. You adjust instead of spiraling. Someone pulls back. You don't disappear to keep them close. You don't borrow a personality to be chosen. You remain you, not because you're stubborn, but because you finally like the person you've become. The paradox of freedom. Here's the twist most people miss. The more you belong to yourself, the more generous you become. When your worth isn't rented from someone else's approval, love stops being bargaining and starts being giving. You can support without controlling, receive help without slipping into debt, and say no without making it a courtroom. Dependence says, if you leave, I fall apart. Stillness says, if you leave, I'll grieve and remain whole. Able bees and remain whole. When you po-wing grave and alt bees and sive. And oddly, that steadiness makes relationships easier. People feel the difference between, I need you to stop me from drowning, and I'd love to walk with you. The second is lighter, truer, and far more attractive. A small story from an ordinary Tuesday. A viewer, let's call him Miguel, used to check his partner's read receipts like a cardiologist monitors a heartbeat. If the bubble was gray too long, his mind wrote a disaster film. He did one simple experiment, a 90-minute no-check window after sending any important message. No refresh, no retracing the last conversation, no calling a friend to decode tone. Week 1 was rough. He paced, cleaned the same counter twice, considered breaking his own rule. Week 2, something shifted. He noticed the sun on the kitchen floor, made an omelet, and his words felt adult for the first time in a long time. The reply arrived. It always had. But now his peace didn't hinge on it. That's the hinge of the whole door. Everyday life. Richer without the noise. When you stop trying to plug every quiet moment, ordinary scenes thicken with detail. The way steam lifts off morning coffee. The rhythm of your steps at dusk. A paragraph that lands so clean you put the book down and just breathe. These moments were never missing. We were. Noise stole our attention. Stillness returns it. Try this today. Eat one meal with no screen, no soundtrack. Taste the food, not a feed. Walk for 10 minutes without a podcast. Let your thoughts complete a sentence. The point isn't asceticism, it's presence. Presence is joy without witnesses. The 3 signs you're entering: quiet power. Self-soothing replaces crowdsourcing. You ask your values before you ask the group chat. Does this align with who I said I was? Becomes your first filter. You can pause without panicking. Instead of rushing to fix tension, you name it and give it room. Let's sleep on this and talk at 6. Problems shrink when they're not fed adrenaline. Loss is pain, not identity theft. You feel the hurt, honor it, and keep your shape. Grief passes faster when it doesn't have to carry your whole sense of self, from filling to flow. A practical bridge. Let's make this real. With a 3-part practice, you can start tonight. 1. The 5-5-1 reset. 5 breaths long exhale. 5 facts, only what you know is true about the situation. 1 choice, what small action is yours to take next. That's it. No dramatics, no new tabs. The quiet block. Choose a 30-60 minute window daily, with no input, no texts, news or music. Do 1 absorbing task: cooking, writing, fixing, sketching, gardening. Your brain relearns depth. 3. The evening debrief. 1. 3 lines. Where I reached for noise. Where I chose stillness. 1 degree, I'll adjust tomorrow. Tiny course corrections build sturdy shores. Do this for 7 days. You'll feel the floor of your life thicken. Common misunderstandings and better translations. Stillness will make me passive. Translation. I only trust action when it's fueled by anxiety. Try action fueled by clarity instead. It's quieter and more effective. I'll become distant. Translation. I equate boundaries with coldness. Think firm and warm. I want to hear you. I need 10 minutes to organize my thoughts. If I stop checking, I'll miss something. Translation. I confuse vigilance with safety. Safety comes from readiness, not refresh. Conversations that protect stillness. When someone pushes you to fill the silence with instant answers or constant availability, try the PAUSE script. Point to the event. We've texted a lot today. Acknowledge care. I want to give this the attention it deserves. Unplug briefly. I'm stepping off for an hour. Set the return. Let's talk at 7. Execute. Log off and keep your word. You're not punishing. You're pacing. Good relationships learn your tempo. Great ones respect it. Questions that open the door to quiet power. If I didn't need noise to feel okay tonight, how would I end my day? What am I afraid the silence will tell me? And what small truth am I finally ready to hear? Where could a 60-minute no-check window change the quality of my week? Write 1 answer. Put it on your calendar with a time. That's how stillness becomes structure. The takeaway. The pivot from filling silence to finding stillness changes everything. You stop rehearsing everyone else's lines and start speaking in your own voice. You stop treating love as life support and start offering it as a choice. You stop outsourcing calm to replies and carry it with you like a well-packed bag. The world won't suddenly go quiet, but you will carry a quiet the world can't take. Transition. Stay with me. Next, we'll turn this quiet power into daily systems, simple rituals, and shared agreements that keep your center steady when life gets loud, so you can be peaceful and powerful in the moments that matter most. Quick question before we dive in. If your first 10 minutes every morning belong to your phone, who do the next 10 hours belong to? If that stings a little, good. Freedom isn't a mood, it's maintenance. It's not just a belief you hold, it's a set of daily choices that keep you from handing your life over to noise, to urgency, to someone else's plan. Today, we're going to build a simple, repeatable system, a handful of tiny rituals that protect your center so you can move through the world without losing yourself. Why freedom needs a practice, not just passion. We all love the idea of sovereignty, owning our time, our attention, our voice. But ideas leak without containers. Think of rituals as the containers that keep your best intentions from evaporating by noon. They don't make you rigid. They make you reliable to yourself first. Here's the blueprint I give clients who want steadiness without becoming stone. 7 small practices, light enough to carry, heavy enough to hold your life in place when everything else is moving. 1. 10 minutes. Before the world, morning silence. No apps, no inbox, no headlines. Just you, your breath, and one honest question. What is in my control today? Your effort, your attitude, your boundaries. And the tone of your day shifts from reaction to direction. Micro example. Sit on the edge of your bed, timer on your watch, both feet on the floor. Inhale 4, exhale 6, 10 cycles. Then write, today I protect a 45-minute deep block at 9. Put it on the calendar. Done. One honest page the mirror that doesn't flatter. Not for posting. What am I afraid of today? What do I actually want? What will I trade to make space for it? Paper is polite, but it's not a liar. When you put the trade-offs in ink, you stop bargaining your life away in your head. Story. A listener wrote, I kept saying I had no time to write, but my page told the truth. I was afraid to write badly, so I gave myself permission to write badly for 20 minutes. That page turned into 3 chapters in 2 months. Honesty scales, negative visualization, positive anchor, premeditatio, plus what remains. Imagine the plan falls apart, the gate is closed, the email is misunderstood. Then ask, if all that happened, what would I still own that cannot be taken? Your character, your craft, your ability to respond. This old Stoic move doesn't make you pessimistic. It makes you unshakable. You experience a rehearsal of loss and discover you still have a stage to stand on. No. 1 clean no boundaries as a daily repu. Say no once per day to something that is nice but misaligned. No dramatic speech. Just, not this week. Or, I'm protecting a deadline. Boundaries are like muscles. Unused, they atrophy. Trained, they hold. Tip. Pre-write 2 lines you can send without guilt. Keep them in notes. When the request comes, copy, paste, breathe. You just bought your future an hour. The digital gap. 1. Screenless hour. Mosten. Ride. Ride. Meaning. Pick 1 hour walk, chores, shower, stretching, where there is no input. No podcasts filling the cracks. Let your mind wander without a leash. Ideas don't grow in crowds. They need oxygen. This is where unforced insight shows up often with a simplicity that feels like relief. Try tonight. Wash dishes with no audio. Count 10 deep exhales while the water runs warm. Notice which thoughts return. That's usually where the next right action lives. Intentional connection, from filling space to expanding it are. When you feel steadier inside, then open the door. Ask a better question then, will they stay? Ask, do we help each other grow? Meet people to extend your edges, not to patch your holes. You'll be surprised how different the conversation feels when you arrive with surplus instead of shortage. Mini reframe. I'm not auditioning for love. I'm interviewing for alignment. The 1 degree nightly review. Course correct, don't self-punish. Before bed, where was I honest today? Where did I edit myself to keep the peace? What 1 degree will I adjust tomorrow? No self-beating. Tiny turns move continents over time. The goal isn't perfection, it's direction with kindness. What happens when you stack these? The strangest thing. Your need for reassurance drops. The more clearly you steer your hours, the less you grasp at other people to steady you. Where there are boundaries, love gets bigger, not smaller because it doesn't have to do the job of your spine. When silence has a scheduled place in your day, Your inner voice gets loud enough to guide you through noise. It's not magic, it's plumbing. You reroute your attention and suddenly the water pressure of life returns to your side of the house. A Tuesday, you can test this on 7 a.m. 10 quiet minutes plus one line intention, 7:15 a.m. 1 honest page, 3 sentences. Midday, 1 clean no to a nice but no request, 5:30 p.m. Digital gap during a walk. Let your thoughts finish a sentence. Dinner with a friend, ask, what are you building that scares you a little? Connection with depth, not performance. Night 1 degree review. Calendar the correction. Run that once. Notice the lingering calm. Now run it for a week. Common pushbacks and better answers. I don't have time. Start with 5 minutes. You have 5. Stack another 5 next week. Consistency beats intensity. This feels selfish. It's selfish to outsource your emotional labor to people because you won't manage your own attention. Discipline is how you show up clean. What if I slip? You will. The ritual isn't a courtroom. It's a compass. Miss a day, not the direction. An anchoring mantra for this season. Freedom isn't escape. Freedom is staying with myself when the world moves. Write it on a sticky note. Put it on your bathroom mirror. You're not chasing quiet, you're carrying it. Questions to turn rituals into reality. Which ritual do I start tomorrow morning? Silence or one-page honesty? What is one clean no I can deliver today to protect the work that matters? Where will my screenless hour live this week? And who do I need to tell so I keep it? Pick one. Put it on your calendar with a start time. Freedom begins at the minute hand, not the megaphone. The takeaway. You don't need a new personality to be free. You need a few guardrails that keep your best self on the road. 10 minutes before the world. 1 page of truth. A small rehearsal of loss. 1 daily no. A pocket of empty air. Connection by choice. And a 1 degree correction at night. Stack those and you'll feel a quiet strength grow steady enough to be kind. Firm enough to stay you, no matter how loud the day gets. Transition. Stay with me. In the next segment, we'll turn these personal rituals into shared agreements. Simple, repeatable rules you can set with partners, friends, or teams. So your freedom scales from me to we without anyone shrinking. Before we end, try this one-liner on for size. If love stripped away your distractions instead of supplying them, would you still want it? That question gets honest fast, because many of us have been taught to rename escape as romance, to call our fear of silence connection, our avoidance of inner work devotion. Tonight, I want to leave you with a different compass. Inner freedom first, then love. In that order, love stops being a lifeline and becomes a gift. The thesis, plainly said. Here's the spine of everything we've explored. Fear of being alone can trick us into calling avoidance love. We cling, we shrink, we negotiate away edges that make us alive. Not because we're cruel, but because we're scared of the echo in the room. The antidote isn't to swear off relationships. The antidote is to build a self that can sit in a quiet room and still feel like a whole life. Ancient wisdom says real freedom can't be repossessed. It isn't a paycheck, a status, a title. It's the practiced ability to govern your attention, your choices, and your interpretations. And depth psychology reminds us, you can't bring a true connection to the table until you've met yourself and kept the meeting. Put simply, you belong to yourself first. From that belonging, every other bond gets cleaner, lighter, truer. What changes when inner freedom goes first? Love stops being a shelter and becomes a horizon. You're not begging someone to keep you from sinking. You're inviting them on a journey you were already willing to take. Boundaries stop sounding like threats and start sounding like clarity. They don't push people out. They let the right people in. Silence stops being a verdict and becomes a teacher. A quiet morning is no longer a problem to solve. It's the lab where your next honest step takes shape. Loss stops stealing identity. You grieve what ends without losing who you are. This is not theory. It's Tuesday-level practical. The day your mood stops obeying bubbles on a screen, you feel a notch of sovereignty click into place. The afternoon you say one clean no without a novel of explanation, your spine remembers its job. The evening, you choose a walk without earbuds and hear your own thoughts. Finish a sentence. You realize clarity was never missing, you were. A small story to bring it home. A friend, let's call her Claire, used to sprint from breakup to talking stage like a firefighter who refuses to put down the hose. The quiet felt like smoke. She started tiny, 10 silent minutes each morning, one intentional no per day, and a weekly review of where she edited herself. 3 weeks in, she noticed something she'd never seen before. Her laughter returned. Not the polite kind, the old one. When a new person came along, Claire didn't audition. She interviewed, "Do we grow each other?" Replaced, "Will you choose me?" And because she belonged to herself, her kindness got bigger, not smaller. That's the paradox of freedom. The more you stand on your own feet, the more open your arms become. The Stoic plus Jung Bridge, translated, not textbook. Freedom, Stoic style. Your peace rises from what you control, your actions and your reading of events, not from outcomes you can't promise. Treat your interpretation like prime real estate. Guard it. Individuation, depth style. The task of adulthood is becoming a whole person integrated enough that you can bring your full voice without needing applause and receive another person's truth without making it a verdict on your worth. Together they point to one map. Do the inner work first. From there, love can be spacious and strong. Field guide. How to train in loneliness without isolating. Think of solitude not as exile, but as training reps that make you steadier in every room you enter. 10 before 10. 10 phone-free minutes before 10 a.m. Ask, what's in my control today? Choose one small act of alignment and put it on your calendar. One honest page. 3 lines. What I fear, what I want, what I'll trade. Paper breaks the spell of vague anxiety. One clean no. Decline one nice but misaligned ask. Your future self will send a thank you note. A screenless hour. Walk, stretch, cook. Let attention grow teeth. Evening 1 degree. Where I was honest, where I edited myself. 1 degree, I'll move tomorrow. Direction, not drama. Run that for 7 days. Notice the drop in your need for reassurance. That's your inner ground hardening. How to love from wholeness, whether single or paired. If you're single, retire the phrase waiting. Call this a build season. Build strength, skills, standards, savings, and friendships that tell the truth. You're not killing time. You're building a life that doesn't need a witness to be meaningful. If you're partnered, start a 20-minute state of us each week. 2 questions. Where did we each own our stuff? And what honest change makes next week truer for both of us? Each agreements beat assumptions. And nothing is sexier than 2 adults who can hold themselves. A final checklist for the road. When you feel the urge to fix someone's mood, ask, am I responsible to them or for them? Choose clarity over caretaking. When fear says shrink to be kept, answer, I'd rather be real than approved. When silence feels loud, remember, discomfort is detox. Stay long enough to hear the voice that's been drowned out. A blessing for your next step. May you hold your own gaze in the mirror without flinching. May your no be clean and your yes be whole. May your quiet be strong enough to steady a noisy day. And may your love, when you give it, arrive not as rescue. Call to action. If this landed, don't just nod, build it. Tomorrow morning, claim those 10 quiet minutes. Tonight, write the 3 lines. This week, say 1 clean no. And if you want the next chapter, stick around. In the follow-up video, we'll lay out simple shared agreements at home and at work that protect your freedom while deepening trust. Claim your clarity today. Click subscribe for weekly tools to turn freedom into practice. Transition. Stay with me next. We'll turn this inner compass into a community practice, so your wholeness scales from me to we without anyone having to shrink.